Hey everybody, it's me, Brian. Welcome to my home. I want to talk about something that's come up a little recently at work. Someone asked me a few months ago, hey, do you know anything about unions? And I said, no, I don't. So I started to educate myself. And right around this time, there was a lot of really aggressive anti-union messaging coming out from upper management. And I saw some discrepancies there. And when I approached those topics, I was shut down. I was shut down rather aggressively. In fact, accused of creating an us versus them mentality. That is not the case. That is not my intention. My intention is to provide us with a conversation and actually explore some of these discrepancies. So today I'm going to talk about a few things. One, why I think you should join a union, I should join a union. Two, how labor unions redistribute wealth in the US economy. Three, reasons that Americans are increasingly motivated to join labor unions recently. And four, let's talk about some pros and cons of joining a labor union. Because I think that if I'm living in an echo chamber of support and everything that you're saying is great, I don't think that's a healthy place to be. So number one, let's just jump in. What is a labor union? Labor union, simply put, is a group of workers who come together to advocate for better working conditions, fair wages, and benefits. Gives you workers a collective voice to negotiate with employers, which is something that is really hard to do on your own. I know a few of you have reached out to me and said, nope, if I have a problem, I can go right to upper management and it gets sorted out immediately. That hasn't been my experience, and also hasn't been the experience of the majority of people that I've spoken to. If that is yours, amazing. I think that's wonderful and good. I'm glad, I'm happy for you. But the majority of people, that hasn't been their experience. And so I want to explore that, and I want to see if we can change that together. Let's talk about some of the real benefits of joining a union. Number one, better wages and benefits. There's something that's been put out really aggressively, is that unions are gonna promise you're gonna get better wages. No, they're not. They're not. I'm not. Nobody is. These are things that could happen. These are things that could happen. Yeah, you could get better wages. You could get better benefits, better health insurance, better retirement plans, better paid time off. Nothing's a guarantee, but it's worth a shot, I think. That's just my opinion. Number two, job security and protection. Protection against layoffs, protection against being let go for no reason, things like that. A contract with a union provides you with that protection. Absolutely. Workplace safety. I know that there's been a lot of talk recently about security and safety and how are we approaching that. And really the answer is they're kind of muddled. They're not distinct. They're not succinct, and they aren't telling us what they're planning to do to keep workers safe. With a contract, it'll be in writing. There'll be a negotiation to get to that writing point, but it'll be there in writing, and you'll have an answer. One thing that I really want to push about unions that I'm finding is that it really is a feeling of solidarity. You've gotten together, you've signed your cards, you've gone to a vote, and then you've negotiated a contract. And this is all about solidarity of workers, and knowing that you're part of something bigger than yourself. That's kind of one of my driving motivators, something that's bigger than myself. I work in the mental health field. I have participated in 12-step consistently most of the time. No, I had a chunk of sobriety, a very large chunk of sobriety, and then a chunk of sobriety now. My path to recovery has not been clean. It hasn't been a straight path. I'm not ashamed of it. But one thing that I have learned since I've started doing 12-step at 26 years old, and I'm 48 now, is that what's going on in this room is bigger than myself. And so that on its own really resonates with me. Let's talk about labor unions and how they can impact the US economy. You'd be surprised to learn that labor unions are not just for us workers, they're for the economy as a whole. What happens when people are making more money? They spend more money. When you're spending more money in the businesses that surround your workplace, you're investing in that community, and that community is bringing home more money, and those employers have the opportunity to reflect advantages to their employees. When there is a unionized workplace employers in the area see what's going on there, and they see like, oh, well, if I support my employees similarly, they're going to go home and be happier. What happens in a happy home? And what contributes to a happy home? Paying your freaking rent, number one. Something that I have struggled to do with since I got this apartment. I got this apartment a little over a year ago. 10-year relationship fell apart. It was a surprise to me, and I'm on my own. This is really difficult. So let's argue that I can pay my rent. I come home, I am less stressed. I am less inclined to argue with my partner or wife or whomever. Right now it's just a dog, and I'm happy with that. There's less violence in the home, stronger interpersonal communication, less divorce. Children have more access to education. What happens when children have more access to education? That pool of people that your employer can choose from grows. It grows, it gets stronger. The community gets stronger. This is not just about our community here. This is about the community that we serve. And I'm gonna remind us that we work in mental health. Also, they improve working conditions, pushing for better safety standards, health benefits, job security. And when those things happen, you have less turnover. Less turnover means that my client that I see this week, when they return, or I work in withdrawal management, so if they return in 4 weeks, 3 weeks, it's very possible that I'm still gonna be there. And there's a safe face for them to spend time with. There's a non-judgmental safe face for them to turn to. I know that there's a fair amount of turnover or layoffs going around in our community outside of our company. Let's try to avoid that. Reduce economic inequality. Negotiating fair wages and benefits is a way to ensure that workers get a fair share of the wealth that they help create. That narrows the gap between the rich and the poor. We are very, very fortunate. Our employer just made the choice to take our base pay up to $50,000. That is still $3,000 less than a livable wage in this area, but that's great. That's a start. Thank you. We thank you for that. This is the first month since I have signed a lease that I haven't had to dip into my savings account. You have no idea how grateful I am for that. And there is nothing wrong with me saying, if my dog gets sick, I can't help him, so I need you to support me more because I show up to work every single day that I am told to be there. And I show up 100%. I think that's an important thing to talk about. Another thing that they do is they democratize the workplace. It gives the workers a voice in the decision-making process. So something happened recently with this minimum wage, and there was a lot of conversation, and employees were not involved. I asked, frankly, hey, does the board communicate with anyone beyond executive management? The answer was no. Why not? Why not? Because one person is taking our concerns to the board. Why aren't we taking our concerns to the board? That it doesn't make sense to me. And one of the arguments that is coming out, or has come out quite a few times, is that this union is going to be a third party, an outside third party, disinterested, just wants your money, doesn't want to talk to you. That is untrue. I'm going to shoot that down right now. 100% untrue. SEIU Local 105 that will represent us is a member-led union. That means I will be there. You will be there. You will be there. The people that we choose to be at that table will be at that table. It's not some jerk down the street that we are giving money to. It is us talking to each other. It is exactly what we're doing right now. And we are discovering what needs we have, and we are approaching them considerately. And unfortunately, we are saying we belong at the table. We belong in this decision-making process. Recently, 61% of American workers have come out in support. 61% of American workers have said, if there was a union vote today, I would sign yes. Today. That means none of this baloney that I'm doing right now, making videos and posting and doing all that, none of that has happened. 61% of the American population is like, yep, let's do it. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Wage stagnation, number one. Income inequality, job insecurity, poor working conditions, high profile union efforts. Why does Jeff Bezos hate unions? This is something to just think about. Pandemic related concerns. The pandemic opened us up to the idea of like unsafe working conditions, increased workloads, especially for essential workers, healthcare, retail, logistics. These workers, us, we're seeking stronger protections, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bunch of whiny people like, well, help me. No, we are working for you. Support us. This isn't outrageous. Political and social movements, growing movement for social justice, economic fairness has increased support for unions. A lot of people see unions as a tool to promote fair labor practices and reduce economic inequality. Increased awareness of worker rights, social media. I don't do social media. I have a couple accounts. I don't engage with them. And modern communication, it's made it easier for us to share our experience and advocate. I was approached by someone in executive management. Not really, I approached them and then the conversation happened. And they said, hey, all of this transparency that you're doing publicly, we don't really think that's a good thing. And I disagree. I disagree strongly. And this is why. If you know what I'm going through and you are feeling something similar, why don't we work together to make it better? I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm not saying make it right. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying let's just make it better. What's wrong with that? I am going to open up comments on this. Please, if there's anything that I'm saying, please comment. I really want to hear people that disagree with me. I really want, and I promise you, I will not be combative. This is a conversation. I have zero interest. I do not get out of bed to fight. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm tired most of the time. Talk about pros and cons. Pros of joining a union. Collective bargaining power. We've talked about that a little bit. Job security, we've talked about that. Improving working conditions, higher wages and benefits, legal support and representation. Another thing that unions do is that they work directly with politicians. It's not my CEO telling me that she's going to go talk to a politician for me. It's us being invited to the table with that politician and listening to their concerns and them listening to ours. And the last pro is a voice in the workplace. I know that I can approach my management. I know that I can approach their bosses. I know that they can approach their boss. But I will tell you right now from experience, for the last year, I have approached my boss. Their boss has been approached. Their boss has been approached. And their boss has been approached for a livable wage in the department that I work in. I work in withdrawal management. And it has been literally crickets until employees got together and said, this is what we need. And then there was a change. So if there is a union in place, why not make that conversation just boom at the table? Like, why do we have to go through 7 months of fighting upstream? Like, just make it a level lake. Like, let's just get in the pool together. I don't see anything wrong with this. And again, I'm not saying any of this to become argumentative. These are solutions, I think. Let's talk about some cons. Let's talk about some cons of joining a union. Union dues and fees. Absolutely. SEIU has union dues. There is a $60 buy-in. It is broken down in 3 pay periods, $20, $20, $20. 6 weeks right there. 2.25% of your income is your union due. And you get everything that I've just been talking about. Loss of individual negotiation power. This one I have a little bit of trouble with. I do have trouble with this one because I don't feel power in my negotiating power at my job. Other than my direct supervisor listens to me, and they are fantastic. But they're probably sick of listening to me. So let's make a shift. Let's make a change. Potential for strikes. Yes, that's real. That is legitimate. That is a fear. That is a fear of mine. I will tell you right now, I am making a video about that very soon, about potential for strikes. Strikes are incredibly rare. The recent Kaiser strike, there was 97% support of that strike. This is not something that unions take lightly. This is not something that unions throw around as a threat. This is a realistic path to creating change. But like I said, I will make a video about that soon. Conflicts in union politics. I don't know much about the Boeing union. My dad was a Boeing employee for 30 years, and all he told me, he was like, Brian, do not stop, but do not do what Boeing did. So I'm learning about what Boeing did, and it sounds a lot like the board members at the union weren't really interested in what the employees were doing, and they were taking a lot of money. Yeah, let's avoid that. Let's work together to avoid that. I'm willing to do that. I am on board with that conversation. I've lived paycheck to paycheck for so long. I know how to, I know how to communicate. I also did hair for about 15 years. I'm pretty good at talking to people. Conflicts in union politics. Yes, there are going to be conflicts, and all unions have politics. Again, I'm going to return to that Boeing union. If you have guidance around that, please tell me, because I'm all ears. I am willing to work with people. I am willing to understand where we disagree. Employer resistance and tension. This one is really important, I think, because a lot of messaging has come out recently that employees are creating an us versus them mentality. And I strongly disagree. I strongly disagree in the respect that the majority of anti-union messaging has been coming from way up here. And we're just asking questions. I understand that this video is not asking questions. This video is telling you exactly what I've learned. And I still don't believe that that's an us versus them mentality. I believe that's me telling you, hey, these are facts that I've learned. You can choose to listen or not. Union rules and restrictions, yes. Specific rules and restrictions, procedures for membership, requirements to follow, which can limit flexibility. It can, like, you're not gonna get everything that you want. I'm not gonna get everything I want. I'm okay with that. I am willing to roll the dice. This is why. What I'm about to share is legal information. This is a fact. This is because I am really grateful for that base pay increase. But according to the 990, which is a financial document, all not-for-profit organizations are required to file. The top 9 paid people, the sum total of the top 9 paid people is $2,537,634. That does not account for a $249,895 balance of estimated income. Estimated income are things like leases on cars, expense accounts, hotels, stuff like that. I am not in any way saying that those are real, that happened, that's there. But what I am saying is that $2.5 million is actually bigger for 9 people. So let's just talk about that. Like these are things to explore. Again, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm trying not to go too long. But if you're feeling undervalued or like you don't have a voice at work, let's change that. Let's make a shift. And I am gonna return really strongly to, this is not about the money. This is a fight for better working conditions. This is a fight for the young people in my family. I do not have children. My sister has children. A lot of my friends have children. My cousins have children. And I have watched my rights as a worker in the US economy be destroyed in the last 20, 30 years. They will not have a future if things don't shift a little bit. I think that's why 61% of Americans are in support of this idea of unionizing. What have we got to lose? It's worth a shot. Tell me what you think below. Tell me what you think in a message. I am really easy to find. Let's talk about this.